Welcome back to another daily drop here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI publisher Andrew Jones, and the topic today, of course, it's February, so it's Carolina basketball, and the Tar Heels are in a little bit of a slide right now. Lost 3 of the last 5. One of the wins was an escape at Miami, in which the Heels did not close well. The other win was a season sidebar game against Duke. So that's 3 of the last 5. After winning 10 straight and launching the ACC season, it looked like they were going to run away and hide with the regular season title in the league, but now it doesn't look like that. Yesterday's drop was about the Tar Heels need to get their mojo back, and we read a ton of numbers about what they did in the 10-game win streak versus what has happened in the last 5 games. Today, going to hit on another part of the equation, which I think is something that has surfaced here of late. Been sensing it a little bit for about 3 weeks. Did mention, I think, in one podcast about RJ Davis, especially because he missed a free throw in 6 straight games. And I was wondering if that was either stuff that just happens sometimes, the even great free throw shooters are going to miss, or if he was getting a little bit tired. And that is the topic here. That's the question. Are the Tar Heels tired? Are the starters wearing down? It is mid-February, and there's still another month plus before the NCAA tournament starts, or a month or so. Is this team tired? Has Hubert gone too far in the direction of an Iron 5 again? I can't stand that term, but I'm going to throw it out there right now because I think it's easier for people to understand where we're coming from here. I'm going to read some numbers again. We're all about grinding out numbers the last couple of days. So I'm going to read these numbers, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Tuesday night in Syracuse. All right. Now, 9 of Carolina's 10 wins in that streak were against Power 6 teams from power conferences. So with these bench minutes and the bench production, I'm excluding the Charleston Southern game because I think it would skew the numbers a little too much. Let's keep it to ACC teams and the non-conference game with Oklahoma, which is where this all began, where the win streak began. So this is a 9-game stretch we're talking about during the win streak, not including Charleston Southern. The bench during that period averaged 47.9 minutes a game, 15.9 points, and 11.7 rebounds. I'll read that again. During the win streak, excluding the Charleston Southern game, the bench averaged 47.9 minutes, 15.9 points, and 11.7 rebounds. In the last 5 games, 3 of which were losses, the bench has averaged 36.2 minutes, so they're down 11 and a half minutes. 10.2 points, they're down 5.7 points. And 7.2 rebounds, they're down 4.5 rebounds. The production is going to drop when the minutes drop. Now, the second half against Syracuse, this to me was one of those red flag moments in the season. And perhaps we'll get some answers, perhaps not, but the questions will be asked. Jalen Withers had a good first half, scored 4 points. I think he played 7 minutes. He's gave them some vitality on the floor. He gives them an athlete. He's a little bit of a brawler. They needed that because I don't think the Tar Heels played with that kind of verve and fiber at times the other night, especially defensively. Plus, the team looked tired in the second half. Well, he didn't play in the second half. I don't understand why, but he did not play. Certainly, he could have gone in there for a few minutes, if nothing else, than to give a couple of guys blows because the starters played a lot. I'll read you that number here in a second. Jalen Washington played 1:39 in the second half. Remember, he hit a 3 in the first half. He played 1:39 in the second half. And that was because Armando went out when he tweaked his knee. Seth Trimble played 3 minutes and 58 seconds in the second half, and part of that was when Elliot Cadeau had his little incident when he had to go to the sideline. In fact, both Elliott and Armando were being worked on. Elliott by trainer Doug Halverson and Armando by strength and conditioning coach Jonas Saratian, both at the same time. That was one of those, oh my goodness, moments for the Heels. So in the second half, the bench played 5 minutes and 37 seconds. The starters played 94 minutes and 23 seconds. Cormac Ryan played 40 minutes. Carolina, with all the bench talk, and I have written about the spikes in bench production, the Boston College game, that stretch that Jalen Withers had. Jalen Washington's had a few good stretches. Trimble certainly has been pretty good up until missing the 2 games going into Syracuse. For all that, for all the talk about the bench is better than last year, Hubert's going to use the bench, which he was for a while. There are 353 teams in Division I college basketball. North Carolina is ranked 331st in bench usage. I don't think that that's a winning approach. I don't think that's something that's going to get them through March. And probably most people watching this or listening to this agree. I think if there's one thing that is disturbing about the recent trend, other than losing 3 out of 5, and sometimes that stuff happens, man. They're good teams. It's not like Syracuse doesn't have talent. Clemson's really good. There's no shame in losing at home to Clemson, especially the hangover aspect. Georgia Tech, hey, Georgia Tech's got 3 wins in the league. Duke and Carolina at home, and they won at Clemson. Explain that. There's enough talent there. They can do it. However, I don't think it makes any sense that this bench is not playing more, because I think the starters are tired. I think RJ's been tired, especially with all the switching they do on defense. How often do you, if you're watching a game on TV, for me watching in person, then I go through our photos that Kevin Roy takes during the game, or I go through USA Today photos that we have a service with, and I see RJ boxing out 6'10" big men. He's wearing down, man. He's 6 feet tall. He's a little bit taller than me. When I talk with RJ, we're almost eye to eye. And if you've seen me, you know I'm not tall. It's getting worn down. The bench needs to play. I know RJ's fantastic. I know he's first team All-America. And I know a lot of coaches are going to say, well, why would I pull him out of the game and put someone else in when they're not as good? We need him on the floor. You know, why would you bat someone who's a 260 hitter in place of a 310 hitter in baseball? Maybe that's not a good analogy, but the point is that, well, we're going to have the best hitter always hit. Well, sometimes guys need days off. Sometimes guys need rest. There ain't no Cal Ripkins out there anymore. Basketball players need rest too. In the NBA, they do the load management thing. You got to spell guys, not just around the TV timeouts. Give RJ a full break in between TV timeouts, which turns into about maybe a 10 or 12-minute rest on the bench. And someone else gets playing time. So when you go to the bench, especially the kind of bench Carolina has, because when you bring in Seth Trimble, he's different than any of the starters. Jalen Washington, he's different than any of the starters. Jalen Withers, he's different than any of the starters. And Paxton Wojcik is going to go out there and he's going to give you tremendous effort, play with his hair on fire, and he does some nice things. He had, 6 rebounds against Clemson last week, 7 points. He gave them a lift. So it forces teams to adjust. Like, oh, here's something different coming in here. They can't get too comfortable. I thought Syracuse got very comfortable with the Tar Heels the other night, even when Hubert was changing a lot of defensive stuff in the second half. Of course, he never went to a zone. I think going to a zone would have been the next thing maybe to try that he did not try. But the bench stuff, guys, he's got to play these kids more. Jalen Withers has a lot of experience in this league. I don't understand why he doesn't play more. I know he went through a period where he wasn't productive, but it came right off a stretch where he was very productive and his minutes just suddenly dropped. Maybe he's not doing that great in practice, but I don't know. Hubert's got the rule about practice, but there's some starters who don't play very well for a while. And if you're great in practice, but you're mediocre during the game, I don't know. I'm not a head coach. Hubert knows basketball heck of a lot more than I do, and I ever will. But I can see this stuff. I've seen this for years. I've covered teams for years. I can see when teams start getting tired. I think this team is getting tired. Armando somewhat alluded to it the other night when he talked about the travel, and there's been a ton of travel. The guys who cover the team are tired, and we're not out there playing. I'm exhausted. Been a lot of travel, a lot of games, a lot of stuff to absorb because this has been an interesting team. And I think it's weighing on these guys some. When they take the floor Saturday against Virginia Tech, they will have played 6 home games in 75 days. It's a lot of road stuff and against good teams. They haven't played a bad team on the road yet. Georgia Tech is not a bad team. So there is opportunity now with the open week next week to scale back a little bit, get some rest. But when they come out of it, or maybe starting with Virginia Tech, Hubert's got to play the bench more. Jalen Washington produces. I know he has to get more physical. I know he has to get better defensively, but it ain't going to happen sitting on the bench. Get him out there. He could produce. He could spell Armando. They can spell Harrison. Cormac Ryan had some really tough mistakes late in the game the other night. Tired mistakes. Couldn't grab the ball. A rebound that went over his head that he was too slow to get. Maybe he was too tired. Give him a blow. I don't think 34 minutes for Cormac is a bad thing. It's certainly, you shave off 6 minutes from 40, give him to a Seth Trimble. He can add some pep out there. Be creative. Throw the different lineups out there. Make the other team constantly have to adjust and wonder, oh, who's on the floor now? I don't mind line changes in basketball. Hubert loves to reference the Dean Smith way. Well, Dean was constantly subbing. Opponents' heads were on a swivel. So they didn't know who's coming out. And they're constantly checking to see, hey, you got number 5, you got number 3, you got number 23, whatever it is, number 12. I'll start throwing all the great numbers out there. 24. I think they need to do more of that. I'm sure most of you do. Let me know what you think. If you think that there's a reason to not play the bench. A year ago, the bench wasn't that good. I understood why he didn't go to the bench that much. This year, there's no excuse. He told us they were that good. We've seen that they're that good. So maybe as Hubert continues to evaluate, maybe he'll look at the film. The staff has already had a discussion. They say, you know what? We didn't play the bench enough. We had them. We had a chance late, but we were tired. There were tired mistakes. Turnovers against Clemson, turnovers against Syracuse, nearly melted down against Miami. Play the bench more. Give those guys a rest. You don't want the 38th minute of a game to be a player's 38th minute, especially when the opponent's starters on the floor in their 32nd, 33rd minutes. It accumulates over time, guys. So anyway, that's today's drop. I want to know what you think. If you believe that Hubert needs to play the bench more, go ahead and like this video. If you're pleased with his usage of the bench, go ahead and like this video. If you believe that the Iron 5 way and Trimble, especially when he gets back to full throttle, is the best way to go for this club, by all means, like the video and let me know what you think. We post this on our Facebook page. We have this on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and on our message boards, both on the premium and free board. But the great conversation is on the premium board. You can be a part of that for just $8.33 a month for a 1-year subscription. You get access to everything we do, plus a ton of stats, guys. I've been grinding out stats, sitting in airports, couple of long travel days, and I'm sitting there hammering out stats, digging stuff up. I carry a shovel everywhere I go because I want to come up with these things. I want to learn more about the stuff I cover, and I get tremendous joy out of giving that information to you guys, and our subscribers get all of it. Everything I dig up, they get. Don't always put the stuff on the videos here. Anyway, let us know what you think, guys. I'm AJ, and I appreciate you stopping by.